Hi, I'm Deanna DeLong. Today I'm going to show you how to change the filter on your Multipure drinking water system. Also explain a little bit about the maintenance parts, when they should be changed, how often, and also how to know when to change your filter. How do you know when it's the right time to change your filter? First of all, the taste is going to change. Your Multipure should taste smooth and clean and refreshing. Sometimes when the filter gets a little older, it'll have a little grittiness to it that it doesn't have when it's a new filter. The second way that you know you need to change it is to use OTO drops. These are available from Multipure. They're simply swimming pool tester, and they only test for chlorine. You're going to put about 5 drops in your water. So if your Multipure water turns yellow at all, you know that it's time to change your filter, and it will instantly turn as yellow as the cap is. Now, if your water utility is using chloramine to disinfect your water, this test may not work. Chloramine is a mix of ammonia and chlorine, and this tester only works for the chlorine. So find out from your water utility actually what they're doing. The third way that you know it needs to be changed is that the flow rate will decrease. When your Multipure is new, you have a pretty good flow rate. You have about 3/4 of a gallon a minute. As it starts to plug up, that flow rate is going to decrease, and you'll have a much slower flow rate. The last way you know it needs to be changed is at the end of a year. Your Multipure is going to perform the very, very best if you change it once every year. The other thing is that it will also validate your lifetime warranty. Your warranty will last the rest of your life as long as you change that filter once a year. Let me review. 4 ways you know it's time to change your filter. The first is taste or odor. It always needs to taste good. The second is if you do a test with the OTO drops and you get a positive test for chlorine. Third is that if the flow rate slows down. And lastly, always at the end of a year. First thing we're going to do is turn the water off underneath your sink. If you have purchased your Multipure in the last 5 years, you're going to have something called an adaptive valve. And it has a little needle valve on the top of it. And when you turn that off, that shuts off the water just to your Multipure. If you have an older model, then you have to turn off the shut-off valve underneath your sink in order to stop the flow of water. So we're going to turn this water off. When your water is off, then you need to stand up at your sink and turn the water on at your Multipure faucet. That allows the pressure to drain out of the line, which will allow you to release it from the fittings. Then put your Multipure in a dishpan and release the fitting on the top for the intake valve, and then release the blue line, which is running up to your faucet. At that point, you can stand up and clean out the filter. Now you're going to take your filter apart. Holding a finger on the end of the hammer, a thumb on the top, and another finger on the bottom, it gives you some mobility to hold the band in place while you unscrew the knob. If you do it in a dishpan, then your water's going to fall into the dishpan. Whoa, pretty nasty. Unscrew your dirty filter. This one's been in about 6 months at my house. I have to change it a little bit more often because we use so much water and our water's pretty dirty. I'm really excited because that isn't going into my body. The next thing you're going to do is take the rubber cushion out of the top of the housing. And it's going to be kind of slimy. And it just pulls out. I'm going to scrub that good with soft scrub. Rinse it off. And then I'm going to take a Q-tip and with a little soft scrub, I'm going to get down into the nipple of the housing and clean that out. Lots of times there's quite a lot of black right into the center, and then around both of the fittings, and then rinse it. I just cleaned out the top of the housing, and now I'm reinserting the rubber cushion. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom, taking off the O-ring, which is a little bit slimy also, cleaning it with a little soft scrub, rinsing it, and then using soft scrub to clean out the inside of the housing. Soft scrub's good just because it has a bleach in it, so it's a disinfectant. It also has a little abrasiveness, which makes it clean better. You've washed the O-ring, and then you're going to reseat it onto the bottom of the housing. Make sure that that O-ring stays resilient. Anytime it gets brittle or a little stretchy, it's time to replace it. The inside has the rubber cushion, which we've taken out and washed, and we've cleaned the inside of the top nipple with a Q-tip. So place the rubber cushion firmly back into the top of the housing. Take the filter and thread it on the nipple and turn it just until it's firm but not forced. Place the top onto the bottom, and now you're ready to put the V-band back on. I'm going to ask my helper to help me hold this. The hammer is going to go into the slot, and it needs to fasten in so that it's seated in the slot. It's very easy to fasten this with it going sideways, and if you do that, you're likely to have a leak. So fit it into the slot, and now holding your finger here, your tall finger there, and your thumb there, you're going to tighten the knob. And then you want to tighten it until it's as tight as you can get it. Frequently it will squeak. And after it squeaks, you usually give it another 2 turns. The V-band won't meet completely, but it's going to be really, really, really tight. Starting to get a little squeak, but I can still turn it. Okay, we're there. There are just 3 maintenance parts which need to be replaced periodically. The rubber cushion that goes into the top of the inside of the housing. It needs to remain resilient, and anytime it gets stiff or brittle, it's time to replace it. The O-ring should fit firmly around the top of the bottom of the housing. And again, anytime it gets a little stretchy or brittle, it's time to replace it. Third are the little teeny faucet O-rings. And in order to access those, you're going to actually pull the faucet right out of the fitting that it fits into. And of course, you've cleaned the inside of that very well with a Q-tip. You've rotated it all around and cleaned the plate on the inside. To replace these fittings, just cut them off with a knife, and when you put the new one on, you'll put the first one on, and then you'll roll the second one over the first one to go up to the second notch. Now that we have a new cartridge in our system, we're ready to reconnect everything and turn our water back on. First thing you have to do is insert your tubing into the housing. Press it down firmly until you hear it click. At that point, you can turn your water on, and you're going to feel it gently filling up the canister. And once that valve is all the way on, then you're ready to turn the water on at the top of the sink. And at that point, you're going to have air in the line, and it's going to spit out. It will also come out slightly black for the first second or two because it's flushing the loose carbon out of the filter. So now we're going to let it run for 20 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. At the end of that 20 minutes, it's ready to use. I hope that you're feeling a little bit more confident about how easy it is to change your filter. For any additional information, feel free to visit my website. Here's to happy drinking.